Hey, what's up guys? My name's Jared. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Land Cruiser and the Honda. I also have an update on the Bushmaster, which we're going to get to later. So basically, in my recent videos for the Land Cruiser, if you've watched those, you would have seen that I installed the fuel injection, I got the engine running, ran well, but there was some smoke, and then I found water in one of the cylinders, and so I took the head off. And I knew there was a lot of pitting in the cylinders before I put it together, but like I said before, I wasn't sure I wanted to keep this engine and transmission setup, so I didn't really want to go through a full rebuild on this engine at that point. So anyways, I found the water, pulled the head off, found what's most likely a broken piston ring in cylinder number 6 back here that has put some pretty deep scratches into that cylinder. So the people who have seen that video, some people have commented, it can probably be honed out and I can re-ring it and it'll be fine, and that's definitely not the case. I knew that from the very start. The pitting alone is much too deep to be honed out, and now the ring, which you couldn't really see in the video that I did, but the lower section of the cylinder number 6, the pitting is actually pretty bad down at the bottom of the cylinder, which is where it must have been sitting when the rust formed. And that's where the ring broke. It's around that deepest area of the pitting. So the pitting was so deep that the ring caught on it and broke, and now the ring has scratched grooves into the cylinder wall. And they're definitely too deep to hone out. So in order to use this engine, I would need to bore out the cylinders, get oversized pistons and rings, and then basically do a full rebuild on the engine. So I have a question for you guys. I have always thought that the 2F engine with the 4-speed transmission would be a better setup in general. And the cost of rebuilding this particular engine, I think, is much higher than buying a used engine and transmission and transfer case, an F2 with a 4-speed. I've looked into the price of the parts. For the lower end alone, just the pistons, the rings, bearings, if I did a new cam, if I did an oversized crank especially, you're looking at least $2,000–$3,000 in parts alone, and you haven't even got into rebuilding the head yet. I have found rebuilt engines, a rebuilt F1 on eBay for $4,000. But that's not going to be a matching numbers engine. It's just going to be another F engine or 1F engine. So my question to you is, I'm pretty sure for less than that, I can get an entire, I've seen setups of a 2F engine, transmission, transfer case for $2,000. That one is believed to need some head work. But even if I put $1,000 into getting that thing running, it's still cheaper than just getting a rebuilt engine that's not even numbers matching. So my question to you guys is, value-wise on the truck, do you think it's more valuable to have a 1F engine with the 3-speed transmission, even though that 1F engine isn't numbers matching? Or do you think it's more valuable to have the 2F with the 4-speed? I think that it's more drivable with the 4-speed. And I'm not building this truck to sell it. People have asked me that. I'm not doing all this work just to sell it. There's no way I'd make enough profit on it to make that worth my time. I'm building it because I like it and I want to drive it. But I will eventually sell it. This is not something I'm going to pass down generations from now. I will eventually decide that I want to sell it to get something else, most likely. Whether that's a year from now or 10 years from now. I would like the value of it to be as high as possible so that when I do finally sell it, I can get as much back out of it as possible. So anyways, let me know what you think. Should I keep the 1F engine? Should I go with the 2F and the 4-speed? I'm leaning towards the 2F and the 4-speed. I just haven't found the right one yet, but I'm pretty sure that I will. So that's the engine part of the Land Cruiser. In a little while, we're going to get into the next stage for the Land Cruiser, which is doing the body work, getting that ready to be painted. So I'm getting started on that. But while we're in here, we will quickly go over the current status of the Honda. So I've ordered a bunch of parts for it, like I said in the past. I've got parts coming for the transmission. I've got new seals and stuff coming for the brakes. And so what I've been doing this week is working on the brakes. I pulled the other wheel cylinders off of the other side, and I finally got them apart, and they're ready to put back together. So these are the parts. These are the brake cylinders. This is the slave cylinder for the clutch. These are the two master cylinders. They're even labeled B for brake and C for clutch. But anyways, these were obviously very seized up. They were difficult to get apart. But once I got them apart, I was able to clean them up really well. So you can see, and I have a video. Well, I'm working on the video for this, but I'm waiting on the parts. But you'll be able to see in the video exactly how I did this. But I was able to really get these to clean up well. So the only thing I'm waiting on to put this back in are the little rubber seals to actually reassemble these. And hopefully they'll be here this week or next week, you know, the next few days or sometime next week. I also pulled one of the brake lines off of the car. This is the front brake line that goes on the driver's side. So I'm also waiting on the fitting that goes on here. This male-end fitting like that. I've ordered that as well. It should be here the next few days. Like once I put that on here, then I can try to remake that end. I have a tool that does that gives it this shape end. And then hopefully I can reuse that line. But if that doesn't work, I do have new brake line and I can bin some new ones. So if I get those seals in the next day or two, then the video for the brakes will be out this weekend. If not, I'm gonna probably pull the transmission within the next day or so, and then maybe I can get a video of that out over the weekend. I'm gonna try to have videos for both of these projects out over the weekend, because that seems to be when they get the most views. Here of course is the engine. Once I have the transmission ready to go back in, I can attach the engine to it and we can finally start this thing up and hear it run. So that's all looking good. Let's see. So out here, you can see I've got the tub on this cart. So the video that's coming out this weekend will be me building this cart and getting it on here and doing a little bit of work on the bottom of the body. And then this next week, I'm going to start working on replacing some of the panels. So I have, obviously somebody cut this out and they had fender flares on it for larger tires. And I have these pieces which will go in here and basically put this back to normal. So I'm going to try to use that and possibly not replace this whole quarter panel. But if that doesn't work, then I am going to have to replace this whole thing. There's quite a bit of Bondo here, so once I take that out, we'll see, you know, maybe I need to replace it because of that. But then obviously, I mean, all this rust is going to have to be addressed. I also have this piece, which goes right along here. So I bought all this stuff when I first bought the Land Cruiser. And at the time, I kind of really bought the bare minimum of replacement metal because I wanted to keep it as original as possible and not go overboard. But we'll see, you know, the project's kind of grown since then. So we'll see if this is all I do or if I end up just ordering whole new panels. So obviously this whole section has been cut out. This was for a second fuel tank. And I'm going to go over that, and I want you guys' opinion on that as well. My plan was to get rid of this whole, cover this up, keep just the single original fuel tank, and that's it. So it's all original. But the fuel tank, the second fuel tank is actually really nice. I'll show it to you really quick. So I wouldn't mind keeping it. So this is the tank, and I've cleaned it up. It's in excellent condition. If you haven't seen the video where I removed it, I'll show you really quick where it goes. It fits perfectly in this area. I mean, it's clearly built to be on this vehicle. It just fits perfect. It bolts down here, and there's straps that come around and they hook over this, and it sits in here perfectly. the exhaust and everything misses it. And it adds obviously a lot of fuel capacity. And also you can see here, this is a valve right underneath the driver's seat, and this switches between the two tanks. So it's a pretty good setup aside from how it looks here. I mean, obviously the hole looks bad, but there's a filler that bolts in here, or the screws in. It doesn't look too bad, except that it's this big square filler opening, and then the other stock one is this nice arched opening. So one idea is to try to find this exact same filler opening and then weld that in right here and just have two of those so that it at least looks pretty much stock. The other option is, you know, don't use a fuel tank at all, or then of course I could put this square one back in. I don't think I'm going to do that. I don't think I'm going to put that one back in. I also thought, you know, maybe I just have the filler hole right in here, just kind of redirect it here over the tire, and then, I mean, there's a decent amount of clearance in there. It could technically be filled up over the tire because it's just kind of an extra tank anyways. My other concern with that tank is that there's no fuel gauge for that tank. You only have, the gauge only works off of the stock tank. So, you know, I mean, I don't plan on going cross country with this thing. I don't mind stopping more often to put gas in it. So we'll see. Let me know what you think. Should I have the second tank or not? If I don't use it, obviously I'll sell it. And I've heard that they're pretty valuable. So, you know, I could sell it and use it to buy some body panels and things that I need. But anyway, that's Land Cruiser. Like I said, I've got it up on this cart now so I can work on it. So now I'm going to get tearing into the body and getting it prepped, ready for paint. So then on to the Bushmaster. So if you guys are new to the channel, this is, it's an 84 Nissan. It's a 720 is what the trucks are called. And this is a dealer optioned vehicle. It's named the Bushmaster. So before Nissan made SUVs, this was the very first SUV. The dealer would take this, a brand new king cab truck, it would be cut up and this top would be put on it. It's full of parts now, but there's a seat under here. So they welded the bed to the cab, connected it with this top and kind of put this filler piece in here, and there's a back seat that sits right here, and then you've got all the storage in the back. So essentially, it's Nissan's very first SUV before they even sold an SUV. So they're extremely rare. This one is in really great condition, original paint, but it just sat forever, at least 20 years, I think. What happened was they pulled the engine out of it to have it rebuilt. It was sent off to be rebuilt, and then for whatever reason they didn't get it back. Maybe they didn't pay for it, maybe the place went out of business, I don't know, but they never got the engine and the head back. They have everything else they took off. They've got the intake, all the smog equipment, everything needed to get it to pass smog except for the engine. So I've been looking for months, and I did finally find a carbureted engine for this truck, because mostly you just find the fuel injection one, and that's not going to work here in California. It won't pass smog. It has to have the correct mechanical fuel pump to pass smog. So I have found one. It's supposedly been rebuilt, although it looks a little rough from the photos, and the deal's been difficult to say the least, but hopefully it is going to be picked up in the next week or two. It's coming in from out of state, and then hopefully it is going to be delivered to me. I have paid for it and paid for the shipping, so it's just a matter of waiting now. But assuming I get the engine, this thing will finally run soon. I've also ordered some new wheels for it, which I'm really excited about. And then I've got to go through the brakes. One of the brakes is kind of frozen up on this thing, so it's hard to move. And I'm sure I'm going to run into other issues, like probably have to clean the fuel tank and things like that. But for the first time in months, I do actually have positive, news for the Bushmaster. So that's it for that one. So I guess that's it for this week's update video, guys. Um, the channel has been growing faster over the last few weeks, which is really incredible. It's amazing to me how many people are subscribing. So I really appreciate it, guys. Keep it up, and of course, send me all those comments. I appreciate it. And until next time, I'll see you later. Okay, bye.